Opening slide, graphic, text, circles of support. Starting a circle of support with Justine Hall. Logos, Belonging Matters, NDIS, talksthatmatter.net.
So I'd like to share my experience with setting up a circle of support for my son Brody, who's 26 now, and some of the benefits that we've seen have come out of having a circle. So 5 years ago, Brody was in a day program. He was living at home. He was not working, and he'd never experienced paid employment. He was very lonely and desperately unhappy. And so we started to make some changes. And one of the first changes that we made was setting up a circle of support. And one of the reasons that we did this, or some of the reasons, were really that our family situation meant that I was Brody's only advocate. His siblings are much, much younger, and most of my family live overseas. So we needed some safeguards around Brody's vision for his life, and some people that really knew what he was doing and why he was doing that, for what the pathway that we'd chosen to follow. Brody had a real lack of quality, caring relationships in his life that were his in his own right. So we wanted to address that. And the other thing was that I'd identified that one of the things, in a way, we were holding ourselves back. Brody was holding himself back, and with his way of thinking, and I was definitely holding him back with my fears and resistances as well. So we thought that new people and people his own age, etc., would help challenge our thinking and expand, bring in some new ideas. And we've certainly found that to be true. We weren't focused on a specific outcome as such with the circle. It was more general. And what it was really was having people come together who felt a heart connection with Brody to help him create his vision of a good life. And as you've all sort of put in the chat function and it's come up, there was a lot of fear and resistance, and in particular to asking. So most of that came down to really a belief that I had that it was all up to me and me alone. I didn't want to be a burden to others by asking for their help. And I feared feeling rejected and hurt if people said no. So that made asking and receiving pretty hard when you've got those kind of ideas in your head. I feared being judged as a parent, like, all of our private family sort of stuff might be on the table. I feared things going wrong. I had lots of doubts. And a big one as well was the challenge of letting go parental control and handing that over to Brody. And that still rises up for me from time to time. And there's various things that have helped with that. So I think the biggest thing that helped in the initial resistance with asking was that everyone that I asked actually said yes. In fact, they were delighted to be asked. And so they gave me some evidence that this idea that this fear that I had wasn't very real at all. The problem was that everyone said yes, and then I took about 12 months to organise the first dinner. So that was resistance really coming forth as procrastination. And I realised that you can't wait till everything's perfect. You just kind of get it started, and then those other details will work out along the way. Things like venue, etc. The other major shift in my thinking was around this idea of being a burden, or and really that wasn't the experience or what people were expressing at all. They were seeing it as a really wonderful opportunity. I think that was expressed by in Lauren's video as well. And people want a feel a sense of community and of making a difference in people's lives. And a circle of support really gives that like opportunity in a very practical, real way. Also, the kind of giving and receiving idea, it goes both ways, this giving and receiving of genuine interest and care and connection, not just circle members focused toward Brodie, but back from Brodie to them and between all the circle members, so very interconnected. So when I was asking people, what I did first was I got very clear. I spent quite a lot of time talking with Brodie and getting clear about what the purpose of the circle was, what it was going to be and what it wasn't. I thought that was really important. And I got very clear too about exactly what I was asking people, what the commitment that I was asking them to say yes to. That makes it easier when you're asking. We gave quite a lot of thought to who we would select. They needed to have that heart connection already with Brodie, or have demonstrated that in some way, but they also needed to have a shared alignment with some core values, and in particular Brodie's truth, which was that he can do anything anyone else can. And I think that being wise about who you approach is good as well with that. And then I just really sat down and shared from my heart, Brodie's passion for music, and his dream at that time was to be a DJ and to move out of home, and people were very, drawn to that vision, and they were grateful to have been asked. So some of the key benefits that we've seen have come out of the circles. So here we are with some of the roles that have come out since we've started the Circle of Support. It's really just an abundance of roles and relationships as well. So I'll just touch on some of the key roles that are very current at the moment. So one of them is he's moved out of home. So Brodie's a housemate. So he moved out of home about 2.5 years ago, and he shares a house with 2 other housemates that don't have disabilities and a dog. And actually, recently he had to move into a new house in the first round of restrictions, which could have been quite problematic. And yet 2 circle members put their hand up to help him move. So he actually undertook moving house and without my assistance at all. So that's some of the practical things that can come out of a circle. Another role here, so if you just can look down on the bottom right hand corner, there's a picture there of Brodie looking pretty buff at his gym. He's standing with Luke, his personal trainer. And Brodie has just so passionate about bodybuilding and working out now. He assists Luke in his gym, some of his gym classes. And drum roll, he's just qualified, received his passed his certificate 3 in health and fitness. So he's a qualified personal trainer now. He's qualified to take group classes, and he plans to continue his studies at TAFE to get his certificate 4. So that's pretty neat. Some of the other things that are on there, which are pretty important, is he's experienced several paid work jobs. He's a church member, and so many more. And a lot of these he's continued his relationships, so that's wonderful. The circle has been a way to invite people to come closer and stay involved where they might have been at risk of moving. A good example of this is a neighbour. We've both Brodie and we have moved away from living next to them, but Noel is on Brodie's circle and remains very close with Brodie. Brodie's got to experience just a real just a taste of different life experiences. And this has grown and refined his sense of who he is as a person, what his purpose is, what his passions are, and his vision for his life has grown and evolved through that too. His capacity as a person has, through all of these experiences and roles, has really increased. And where I see this really coming out in the circle is his capacity to advocate for himself. And I think this is one of the most important safeguards. So now he's very, very clear and articulate in his own choices, following up on actions, weighing up different pros and cons of to make a decision, respecting other people's points of view, standing up for his own view, and being able to shift his perspective. He's no longer rigidly holding on to his ideas, but it's opened his mind, and mine as well, incredibly. So that's a real benefit. Some of the benefits for me personally and us as a family is definitely the sense of security, that there are safeguards in place. And I think that, recently with the crises that have just happened for all of us, this has been a great test to kind of check how strong things are. And we've really found that the impact has been quite minimal to Brodie in a lot of ways, and that not much momentum has been lost. So that's wonderful. My own personal time and energy is much more sustainably utilised now, which is great because I have 3 younger children and my 2 youngest sons also have special needs. I am doing less, but not much more less in a way. It's more about that I'm doing different things, doing the right things that make a difference. So it's far more positive and it holds. I think the other things that I can see is just the confidence that comes out of seeing Brodie make, reach for a goal that sort of seemed quite unrealistic even, and then in a very short space of time it becomes completely achievable. A good example of this is his goal to get his driver's license and buy a car. That brought up a lot of fear and challenge for me, but I really see that now as that'll be happening in a fairly short amount of time, really. There's immense joy and satisfaction that I experienced myself just in witnessing Brodie just living his life his way, I think. And there's probably so much more as well, but I think that's probably it from me.
Closing slide, graphic, text. This video is made possible with the support of a National Disability Agency grant produced by Belonging Matters. Belonging Matters makes every effort to provide accurate and up-to-date material. However, information is subject to change and our material is for reference only. Logos, NDIS, Belonging Matters, talksthatmatter.net.